if you watched that game yesterday, the Yankees lost. I can't even tell you the things that they did well. It wasn't a lot. They played a terrible, terrible baseball game. And I don't know where you go from here. And then you can't get that down, everybody, because they're a half game behind the Orioles. And the Orioles are losing right now, so they end up losing this game. And the Yankees win tonight against the pitcher who's making his third start for the Guardians. You're back in first place, so you can't go that crazy. But if you really want to take a wide-angle view of this season, if it wasn't for Judge and Soto, I don't think this team is a 500 team. They're just not. I mean, Judge and Soto are carrying them. They had the back-to-back home runs in the first inning. Soto has 35. Judge has 45. Judge is on pace for 58. They are doing unbelievable work. Look at the rest of the lineup. Now, I have the Yankee lineup right here. We'll give it to you in a moment.
Okay.
I like DJ LeMahieu a lot. The guy's won a batting title here. He's won 2 batting titles in his career. One in the National League, one in the American League. Don and Peter, I don't know how you play him anymore. I don't know how you play him. These are the numbers on DJ LeMahieu. Ready for this? He has a 189 average. That's the 8th lowest in baseball for a regular player. He slugs at 249. Don, you might slug at 249. That's the 4th lowest in baseball. An OPS of 512, the 3rd lowest. And a ground ball rate. He doesn't lift the ball anymore.
Right.
56.8%, the 7th highest in baseball. And in his last 29 games, he's 13 for 78, 167. I know you've got to treat veterans with respect. And I think that they have treated him with respect. They keep sending him out there. But at one point, you got to do what's best for the team. He's not hitting right now. I mean, the best thing would be to make up an injury, which you can't legally do. Put him on the IL until the end of the year and hope that he finds something during the offseason. You can't run a guy out there who's a non-factor.
Well, this is Joey Gallo territory now. I mean, you're talking about a 189 hitter. He doesn't get on base.
And at least Gallo was a threat to hit a home run.
But I was just going to say, because of the whole launch angle thing, every once in a while he'd run into a home run. LeMahieu's not even doing that. And Michael, they got a couple of hits from Volpe, which was nice, but you're not getting anything from Stanton, so you're not getting the production from the protection you need for Judge. Verdugo 0 for 6, Michael. So they scored 5 runs, but that was kind of cosmetic because of the 2-run double from Judge. And it all is about Judge and Soto. It's been what we've talked about all year long. This is a average at best team without those 2 guys. Now they've got the 2 guys, but you're wasting them. But they're still a first-place team. They're still battling for first place, still have one of the top 5 records in baseball because I think everybody is in this position. But still, does this look like a championship team to you?
Don, I've got Verdugo numbers for you. You ready?
Yeah.
This is since June 15th. So that's a good 2 months. It's over 2 months. He's hitting 186, the 4th lowest. His on-base percentage is 254, the 6th lowest. He's slugging at 260. Again, Don, you might slug at 260. That's the lowest in baseball. His OPS is 574. That's the lowest in baseball. In his last 33 games, he's hitting 191. Now, I think that what's happening with the Yankees, they're kind of like they have golden handcuffs on. Because they could say, hey, you know what? We're in first place, but if you want to make dramatic moves, you know what you do? You move Austin Wells and have him play first base. You call up Jason Dominguez. He's your left fielder. And guys that aren't producing can't play anymore. They just can't. You can't keep running them out there.
Because now you've got the problem you've had in recent years. You don't have a left fielder.
Right.
Because he's not hitting.
And their left field numbers, Don, are some of the lowest in baseball.
And that's a problem. You don't have a left fielder. You don't have a first baseman right now. And then some days you don't have a catcher, depending on who's pitching. You just have too many holes in this lineup. It's not going to get any better until you actually make some fundamental changes. You can't worry about hurt feelings. You're trying to win a championship. And this year, more than ever, because you may not have Juan Soto, what is this team going to look like, Michael, if they lose Soto in free agency, which I don't care how optimistic you are, is a distinct possibility. So every day you're reminded what this team would be without that trade. They'd be an average to below average baseball team. And you're wasting these two tremendous performances because there's just too many holes. There's just too many. And they can't win in extra innings. They can't get a big hit to save their life. It is torture watching that game. Inning after inning after inning. The Guardians are asking to be beat. You know, they couldn't score either, and then finally it all broke loose in the 12th. But, I mean, God, you get a runner at second base, and you can't score, and you can get a walk-off win. You can't do it.
They were 1 for 16 with runners in scoring position. Now, I think that the play or the plays that cost the Yankees a game, Volpe ends up getting a big double to tie the game at 3 in the 4th inning. Steals third because he's automatic, stealing third. He's at third base with nobody out.
Yeah.
Infield in. They can't get him in. Now, if you want to know why the Yankees are so terrible in extra innings, they can't get the big hit with a guy at second or a guy at third. They can't. So if you can't score with a runner on second base and the other team has opportunity after opportunity, you're going to lose the game. And they're not playing fundamentally sound baseball. Bases loaded. Ryan O'Hearn just struck out with 1 out. The Orioles had bases loaded, nobody out. Top of the 8th inning, and they're trailing 3-2. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Now, you both know, and everybody listening knows, I'm an Aaron Boone fan.
We know that.
He had a bad 12th inning. And I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
When you play the Guardians, there has to be one rule. One rule only. Jose Ramirez not beating me. Like when you play the Yankees, Aaron Judge not beating me. Now, with the Yankees, you have to worry about Soto. And there are other guys that can hit on the Guardians, like Josh Naylor or whatever. But Jose Ramirez is not beating me. So here's what happened. You got runners on first and third. First and third and nobody out in the 12th inning. The runner at first is Stephen Kwan. They're not holding him on. So what they want is for Stephen Kwan to steal second base. So that opens up first base to intentionally walk Jose Ramirez. So Stephen Vogt, the manager of the Guardians, obviously tells Kwan, stay where you are. But think about that. Everybody just consider this for a moment. If you don't want Ramirez to beat you, and you're giving Kwan second base, and if Kwan steals second base, you're going to automatically walk Ramirez.
Right.
Well, then what my friend David Cohn always said, don't tell me about an open base. Don't tell me about an open base. You have an open base. The base is second.
Thank you.
So why wouldn't you walk Ramirez? Instead, you go 2-0 on him, Don, and he gets a base hit up the middle. That's the ball game. If you didn't want to pitch to him, don't pitch to him. So you need Stephen Vogt to have Stephen Kwan steal second base, so you feel emboldened to walk Ramirez? That was a bad managerial decision. Awful.
I've always wondered that. Now, I understand that you're moving another runner in scoring position, but this guy is money. You don't want to have to face him.
Don, you were inviting the guy to go to scoring position. You were inviting him.
Right. So you would have. You're going to have the bases loaded anyway. I never understood. First base is open. Well, second base is open. Yeah. Like, there's a base open so you don't have to face their best hitter in a big spot. Now, what Boone will tell you is that they didn't want to just gift him the runner in scoring position, but they weren't going to try to throw down a second anyway.
No,
they were fine with it
him.
being bases loaded. So whether first base is open, second base, third base, you're going to have to load the bases anyway. So I don't know why you get so caught up. There's a base open. Take advantage of it. Don't let him beat you.
And the guy on deck, the number 3 hitter, is not Josh Naylor because they lifted him for a pinch runner. So the guy on deck is Tyler Freeman. So pitch to Tyler Freeman with the bases loaded. Again, if you were not going to let Kwan steal second base, you got an argument. You got an argument.
But they were going to let him walk.
But you were giving him second base. What are you doing? You can't blame any of the relievers. I mean, when you got to go to Tim Mesa, you're going to end up losing the game. And then Tonkin didn't have it. A bad call against him, too. Should have been a strike. It wasn't. They called it a ball. And I think that upset him. And they end up giving up all those runs in the 12th inning. That's a game that really stings. And then the Grisham play. I mean, come on. You're in there to pinch run for Stanton. You got to score on that.
Oh, my God. That was awful. You thought they caught a huge break. How do you not score?
Everything about that game is the thing that I'm sure when Aaron Boone was driving to his house last night, he's replaying that game over and over. What should I have done different? But it all comes down to hitting, too. So I could pick apart the fact that he didn't walk Ramirez. They had 100 opportunities to score, Don.
They did.
100. If you're going to go 1 for 16 with runners and scores, you're not going to win. This team is Soto and Judge.
That's it.
Period. That's it. Let's see. Max Goodman, who covers the Yankees for NJ.com, had a stat that just jumped out at me. Where is it? Did you send it to me personally, Ant? Or here it is. Here. Adding up production at first base, second base, third base, shortstop, and left field this season, the Yankees are slashing .232, .298, .361, with an 86 weighted runs created plus. That means 14% below average. The Yankees' .659 OPS combined at those 5 positions, the lowest, the 4th lowest of any team in baseball. You know, want to know the teams that are worse? The Tigers, the A's, and the White Sox. Soto and Judge, period. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the team. And Austin Wells of late.
And they are so fortunate that you're talking about historic numbers you're getting from Soto and Judge.
Yep.
And even that isn't enough because you can pitch around those guys. And you can't expect them to constantly, every day, to be able to support you. And they did last night. They were responsible for pretty much every run and still wasn't enough to win the game.
Brutal.
Hey,
Just brutal. The Orioles tied the game. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, 3-3. Sack fly by Rushman tied the game. But they had the bases loaded, nobody out. They scored just 1.
I don't trust any of those Central Division teams, Michael. But last night they wouldn't have the runner at second base. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. The Yankees couldn't score with the ghost runner. But that's the kind of games you're going to lose in the postseason. Like, I might not believe in any of those Central Division teams, but you're gonna face the Guardians are good, so they're gonna take advantage of this, or the Royals or whoever, and then obviously looming there's Houston.
Yep.
And we'll see if Baltimore can get their act together. All of these teams are flawed. I get it. So they might be able to find a way to be able to overcome, but Michael, they normally don't. Like, this is a team that usually doesn't hit in the postseason. When everything's breaking right for them, there's always that struggle in the postseason. Now you might go into the playoffs and you expect the struggle because you really have as an offensive team all year.
And I got to be honest, too. I thought about it a little bit because you jumped me. You know, Richard calls in and said, this the Soto trade is not as lopsided as you think. Anybody that the Padres wanted, you had to give up. If you don't have Juan Soto on this team and you're leaving Aaron Judge all alone to fend for himself, they'd be under 500 and out of a playoff spot.
And what? Go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry.
What does the conversation look like this offseason now if you're a Yankee
fan?
It
is.
Like, they can't go into this going, hey, kind of like the whole run it back thing.
Right.
First of all, you can't run it back. Second of all, if you're talking about letting Soto go and just kind of doing the run it back, you will have a garbage baseball team.
No, if you let Soto go, you have to make a dynamic move to replace him.
That has to, yeah. And by the way, Michael, as it seems right now, you have to make dynamic moves even if you keep Soto.
And the funny part is, if you're not able to keep Soto, right? I think that the plan B at this point, well, we'll re-sign Verdugo. No, you can't do that. And then we'll bring up Jason Dominguez, play every day. Not enough. You're not even close to making up for what Soto has left. Soto has almost put you in a position. I'm anti-blank checkbook, right? He's almost put you in a position you got to pay him whatever he wants. I don't know how you make up for that production. And I think he's had an unbelievable impact on Judge.
Yeah.
He's on base all the time in front of him.
I don't know if there's any move they can make that can compensate for the loss of him.
You're right, because there's not another Soto.
And I am not going to put that kind of pressure on Dominguez to be that guy. Like, it's tough enough to go out there and play center field for the New York Yankees or wherever they end up putting him and say, be our savior. That's a tough ask for a kid. And listen, he showed a lot last year, but to be able to put that on his shoulders or any other acquisition, he is just an incredible baseball player that makes another incredible baseball player that much better. And yet still here we are, a very flawed team with him. So if you pull the plug on that, so I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, Michael, trying to figure out. That has got to be. Now, listen, Brian Cashman's done now. The trading deadline is over. That has to be in every waking moment trying to figure out how they can still offer the highest money.
And when you made that trade, all you got to do is have an average year, right? And you're in the unenviable situation of you have to give him what he wants. Well, he's gone out and had the kind of year that Aaron Judge had when he was a free agent. You have a team across town where the owner is worth personally $17 to $18 billion. That probably is going to want him too. Once you made that trade, you have put yourself in a corner. You have painted yourself into a corner. If you don't keep this guy, and I think that there's a number that they have to walk away too. If there's a number, like if Steve Cohen goes to like $70 million a year, you can't responsibly do that. But then you almost have to think, or can you let him go? I mean, I wish I was Scott Boras this winter. You're peddling one of the best players in baseball at 25 years old. He's going to get whatever he wants. So just look at this Yankee team, and that's why we started this with saying you can't go crazy because they're right there. But they're right there because of two men. And now, we haven't even mentioned this, the Yankees announced that they put Luis Heel on the 15-day IL with back soreness, lower back soreness. They call it Will Warren. Now, that might turn out to be a good thing. This guy needs to have a reset. He needs to rest. He's pitching innings he's never pitched before in his life. Now, if by that time Clark Schmidt comes back in 2 weeks, then you plug Clark Schmidt in, and then Luis Heel could end up being your solution in the bullpen. The guy is giving you way more innings than you could have humanly thought possible. And he's giving you a Rookie of the Year season. Well, now they lost him. At least 15 days probably, could be longer. So you watch that game yesterday, and it just reminds you of the things they have, and they don't do well. DJ can't hit anymore. He can't. They can't get runners in from scoring position. They've lost 3 in a row because their offense has gone south. The only good sign from yesterday is that Volpe hit the ball well.
Yeah.
And, of course, Austin Wells coming off the bench almost won the game with that home run to center field. But it hit off the top of the wall.
But you just touched on things. It'd be one thing if it was only an offensive problem. But you just outlined problems with the rotation. Do you have a closer? Do they play the fundamental baseball that you need to play? Like, there's a lot of holes here. There's a lot of holes.
They made some plays yesterday. The pop-up in left field, foul territory. Cabrera's waving off Verdugo. First of all, the outfielder does not let himself be waved off by the infield. The ball drops untouched. So you give the batter another swing. A ground ball by Kwan to LeMahieu. Doesn't step on first, comes home. The initial call is out. It's overturned on replay. And it should have at least been an out at first base. He didn't touch the bag. No, that was the play where a ground ball to first, he threw to second.
Right.
He was right near first base and didn't touch. So DJ, he's a professional, but it looks like some of his offensive woes might be coming out on the field. And then there's Verdugo. Verdugo has been an above-average OPS guy his entire career with the Red Sox. He's now at 83. OPS plus. He's a below-average player. What has happened to him? This is 2 months of absolutely zero production from your left fielder. So, again, you almost have to ignore the fact that you're in first place or close to it, and you got to make dynamic moves. Every day, Austin Wells should be taking ground balls at first base. So when he's not behind the plate, he's in the lineup. Every day. And you have to make a dynamic move and call up Jason Dominguez, and Verdugo has to come off the bench. Verdugo's not hitting. You got him to hit 40 doubles. He's not. He's not hitting 40 doubles. Not good. There's a lot of things that have to go on here.
But it is kind of crazy, right? They're still half game out of first place. They've got the best run differential in Major League Baseball. I mean, there's a lot of quality things here, but you're right. You can't get caught up in that. You've got to see through that. An organization that looks at numbers can't just pedestrianly look at, here's our standings. We're in good shape. You got to look through it. And if you watch the team every day, there's just too many flaws. And yes, there are other teams that are flawed, for sure.
But you have to correct yours.
But you've got to be able to you got to take care of your own business. And you
always say this too, Don. They're going to make the playoffs. But you're aiming for bigger things. So if they go into the playoffs with this team playing the way it is right now, they're not going to win. You got to tighten it up, man. You got to tighten it up.
I don't see. Now, the only way it can change is if they go out there and change it themselves. But when you look at all the things that you need to be a championship team, all right, you got to be able to hit with runners in scoring position. They don't do that. You got to have a strong rotation. Outside of Cole, you're not sure they have that. You don't have a closer. There's so many things that you absolutely, boxes that have to be checked if you're going to make a run, that right now are glaring holes. And now we're past the deadline, so now you got to self-correct because there's no way to get somebody outside the organization to fix it. Can they fix it? There's still time, but can they fix it?